What's for dinner?
Boiled polyester.
Boiled polyester?
We're having boiled polyester, honey. So yesterday I was doing a project of dyeing fur fabric, and I usually do projects during the morning, but unfortunately yesterday, because I was so busy during the morning, I didn't start my project till around 3 in the afternoon. So when my husband came home from work, I was not done with my project. So here he comes home and he sees this really big pot. He thought that I was cooking something special. Maybe he thought I was cooking lobster for dinner. Unfortunately, that's why I was telling him, I was giving him a joke. When he asked what was for dinner, I just said that we were going to have boiled polyester. But anyway, I ended up making him his favorite dish, which was filet mignon steak. He likes steak, especially filet mignon. So this is the video that I'm going to show you. This is just the intro of the video that I was really going to show you, because the video is actually about how to color or how to dye fur fabric. So enjoy the video. Hello everybody, Maayong bunta, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to do a video on how to dye a polyester faux fur fabric. Pasensya na kayo if I'm going to speak Taglish, combination English, Tagalog, or maybe even Bisaya, because I have to do it because I have for my Filipino audience and also for my English audience. So it's going to be a mix. Okay, so I've been in my previous projects, back when I didn't have YouTube channel, I used to dye polyester fabrics, and because I use this in my projects, but I haven't done it for a long time, so now I'm going to do it again. It's been, I think, over a year, so I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, first thing you want to do is you have to clean your kitchen, move all your stuff that has that you use for cooking or food container, because you know the coloring that we will be using, the fabric color, it's not a food. It's not good for food. So get rid of this. First thing, when you dye a fabric, you have to make sure that you have to find out what kind of fabric it is. So if you have natural fibers, cotton, whatever, wool, there's a different dye for it. If you're using polyester, then there's a different dye. So right now I'll be using 100% polyester. So what I'm going to use, and this has been really successful for my dyeing process, it's called I-Dye Poly. So we use this to dye polyester. You can't, if you use something else that doesn't say polyester on it, the color wouldn't stick to your fabric. So when you wash it, it was just gonna go, it will just come off. So make sure it says I-Dye Poly. This is made by Jagard. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Jagard, but it says I-Dye Poly. They also have a dye for natural fabrics. Okay. And then the next, you also want to get a dye pot. See, it's very important that the pot that you use is big enough for your fabric, so that your fabric can have room. You don't want to use a small pot and your fabric doesn't have room to, it will leave creases. So, and also, the pot that you use for dyeing, you do not want to use that for food. So, what I usually do, I store this in my garage. When I'm done coloring my fabric, you know, I put all my dyeing materials in the garage. Okay, so the fabric that I'm going to be dyeing or coloring is this short pile fur fabric, and the very first thing that you want to do is you need to wet this fabric. I have this one. I bought this from a dollar store, and I also have this stirrer. And these things, you do not want to use this for cooking. You just only use this for, if you start using this for dyeing fabrics, that's all it should be. You can't use it for cooking. And so with the pot that I'm using is enamel. So you can use, the best pot to use would be stainless steel or enamel. I got this, I was lucky to get this at the Goodwill. So you can go to thrift stores, you don't have to buy a new one, just go to thrift stores, and I happened to find this one there, so I got it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I have before I color or dye my fabric, I'm going to do a tester with just this little fabric, because I'm going to mix the color. I don't have, I have this brown color, but I don't really like it, this color. I don't want it too dark, so I'm going to make it like a little orangey brown. So I'm going to combine the yellow with the brown, hoping it would tone down the color of the brown color. Okay, so I'm going to mix it, and that's the problem about mixing the colors, is you don't really know what you're going to get. So that's why I have to test it with the small fabric first. Okay, so this is the brown color. I'm going to put a little bit more than I used to because I'm using a big pot. I usually just use a small pot, but because I'm dyeing a bigger fabric, so I'm going to do the yellow. I'm just going to put a little bit. I don't want to pour orange. Oops. So the instruction says you add the garments and boil for 1/2 to 1 hour. Okay guys, so the one thing about mixing colors is that it's fun, but at the same time it gets frustrating, because especially if you don't get what color, you have to keep on trying and do a trial and error. So I tried, you have to have a lot of sample fabrics. So I have a lot of fabrics here that I tried. First I did this too dark, and then did this, and then this is the color that I want. This is exactly the color that I wanted. It's like brownish orange color, not too brown, but it's a little bit of orange in there. So I actually added an orange dye. I have an eye dye poly orange, so I added orange, and then I did yellow, and then the brown. But I think I put too much of the brown, so now I just did trial and error. So now I think I found the perfect combination of the orange, yellow, and brown. So now I'm ready to put my fabric in. So here it is. Let's see how it goes. Okay, wait a minute. My fabric didn't seem like it's wet. So here it is, crossing my fingers. About this. Kaya kamot. So ready to get it out. Here we go. So I'm going to rinse it. I'm going to rinse it with lukewarm water. You don't want to rinse it with really cold water because you don't want to shock it. So a little bit. So after I washed my fabric, and this is how it looks when it's dry. You know, it's really dry, and this is how it looks. But this was the color before I colored it, before I dyed it, and this is how it looks. See, there's a big difference, and this is exactly what I like. This is but you have to do an experiment. When I first put the dye in, I put too much brown, and it was really dark. So before you put in your fabric, you don't want to waste your fabric. So you have to have like a sample. You have to cut a few. You have to cut some few scraps of fabric, maybe 5, or I had like probably 7. So when I first put in the color, I mixed the brown and the yellow because I wanted it to be like yellowish brown. And I think I put too much brown, and the color looks really still dark brown, but it was kind of like muddy brown. So I put a little bit more yellow, and it just didn't look right. So then I put orange. So I tried like different, I added more orange than yellow. I finally found the color, the shade of brown that I wanted, and that's when I put in my fabric, because you don't want to waste expensive fabric. This is exactly what I want, this color. And also another tip, you have to remember that the fabric really looks dark when it's wet. So this one, when it was wet yesterday, it was really dark, but now that it's dry, it's a little bit lighter, and this is exactly what I want. It's like goldish brown. So but don't worry if after you washed it and after it's dried, it's not the color that you want. You can always do the whole process again. You can always tweak it a little bit. You can add or more color, different colors. Just experiment. Okay? So hopefully you enjoyed this video. For those of you who have subscribed to my channel, I really do appreciate it, and I'm so thankful for supporting my channel. But for those of you who haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. I would really appreciate it. Thank you, and have a good day.